Hi, I'm Peter. Flying seaplanes. Maybe you're also flying seaplanes. Then we'll agree about the necessity to protect servos against water. I've been doing this for quite some time with liquid rubber. I'll show a picture of the pod somewhere later in the movie. You can cover the complete outside of the servo with this liquid rubber, of course the seals especially, and where the wire is coming out. But not the part of the servo arm that needs to be moving, of course, that's why I have a servo. So I put a very thick layer of bearing grease around the servo arm to protect that part. Now I sacrificed 3 servos for a test. I wanted to see how effective this is. The first one, I fully protected it with the transparent liquid rubber, covering it completely and with the servo arm protected. Then this is the unprotected servo, no measures at all. And the third one is a micro servo, also fully protected and also covered with bearing grease, but please note that the screw on the servo arm was missing. Didn't realize that, but turns out to be significant later. Then I've put them all in a bowl. Don't look at the tape to secure the servos. The tape was not waterproof, but that's not part of the test. Found another way to keep them down. And I gave all the 3 servos the same signal from a servo tester, letting them move back and forth. And here you can see that already after a few minutes the middle servo, the unprotected one, is starting to behave strangely. Here this is less than 5 minutes. Water has been entering and it died. You can see it doesn't do anything at all. Then the other 2 servos, I've been doing this test for several hours. I think this is about 3 hours later. Still moving. Power is coming from a LiPo battery, enough power to do this test for days. But after about 3 hours of submerging underwater, I stopped this test and put them all on the dry. Here after 3 hours the big one also failed. The small one continued doing its work. So here I stopped the test after about 3 hours and took them out of the water and stored them dry for about a month, and after that month I repeated the test to see what became of these servos. Here you can see that the unprotected servo is working again on the dry. The small micro servo is still bravely doing its work. And the protected big servo refuses work at all. So we'll see later that the water has entered and because of the protection could not go out. But of course it's better to prevent water from coming in than to make sure it can get out again. Better not to have it in at all. The unprotected one, apparently the water was able to get out during the month of dry storage and it's working correctly again, but still I wouldn't trust it, wouldn't use it in a plane after it had failed already once. Then the protected one that has failed has apparently been permanently damaged by the water getting in and not being able to go out. And the small servo apparently had so little water entered during the test of 3 hours that even after the month storage it still works correctly. Now the 2 that still worked, I put in a bowl again and submerge them with water again. The unprotected one, the small micro servo. And here you can see the weak spot of where the servo arm is connected to the servo. You see the unprotected one, as soon as water enters, fails again. The small one still continues, but you see the weak spot. I forgot to put a screw on it, and you see that's also a point where the water enters into the servo and causes a failure of the electronics. Apparently some water has entered but had not damaged it until now. Here, after not very long, in the second test, it also failed. Anyway, protecting the servo is very important. This test, of course, is a much harsher test than real life conditions. Under real life conditions, your servos would be sprayed wet and not submerged, and even if they would be submerged occasionally, that would not be in operation, and it would not be for hours. Then after this test, I took them all three apart to see how damaged the internals are. Here you can see the plastic dip flusid gummy, liquid rubber. Maybe there are other brands doing the same, but this one works great. You can see the servo at the left, which is the protected servo, the protected bigger one, that failed after 3 hours. The water came in, the water could not go out, and the water has corroded the motor quite severely. Then the middle one, electronics and motor, looked very well even after a month, or after the first test of being submerged for 3 hours and then storage for a month, and then being taken apart again. Then the servo on the right, the fully unprotected one, doesn't look as bad as the protected one, apparently because the water was able to evaporate through the small openings. Here we zoom in on the protected big one. You can see how badly the electronics look. I wouldn't trust such a potentiometer also after such a long time. The small one still looking in a very good condition. And at last the unprotected one, having taken quite a bit damage. This test is much more harsh than what you would do in real life conditions, so I guess these measures are effective. And this is a good way to use servos in a waterplane, either if you put them in the fuselage, which may be submerged some time sooner or later, or at the outside of a plane, which is almost necessary for a wing servo. So this is a good way to handle them. You can do the same with the receiver, fully painted, including the connections to the servos. That's what I usually do. Still, I do have a request to gentlemen manufacturers. You provide waterproof servos, but only full-size servos, and as most of us are flying foamies as waterplane, they're excellent planes to use as seaplane. They require small servos. Please make also waterproofed for small servos, waterproof servos of 10 gram, 12 gram or 20 gram, which are suitable for our foamy seaplanes. Thank you for listening, for watching this video. I wish you success with waterproofing your plane and electronics, and see you again. Goodbye.